You're listening to the Bluegrass Jamboree, playing the best in bluegrass, bluegrass gospel, and traditional country. TheBluegrassJamboree.com.
All right, if you're just tuning in, once again, you're listening to Bluegrass Retrospect, featuring the finest in bluegrass music. And as promised, with me on the phone out of Chattanooga, Tennessee, is none other than my special guest and featured artist, Miss Nina Ricci, joining me on the phone to talk about her brand new single entitled Here Comes the Snow. And Nina, it's great to have you here on the BluegrassJamboree.com.
It's wonderful to be with you, Brett. Thank you very much for having me.
Yes, ma'am. Now, your music seems to be doing very well here on the Bluegrass Jamboree, and I wish you all the best on the other radio stations that are out there. We appreciate you referring to us as the Blue Jays instead of DJs, since we are airing bluegrass music, so we certainly do appreciate that. But for the listeners that may be learning about you for the first time here on Bluegrass Retrospect or here on the Bluegrass Jamboree, why don't you take just a moment or two? We got all night. Tell the folks out there a little bit about yourself.
Okay, I'll try to do that in short. I'm Nina Ricci. I am primarily a folk musician, and I cross over into the bluegrass territory from time to time. I grew up in a suburb of Nashville called Donelson, and when I was 17 years old, I was auditioned by Berklee College of Music. I became a Berklee graduate after 4 years in college, and I moved back down to the South and eventually back to Nashville and recorded my first album, Designs on Me, during that time. And then I didn't really know how to proceed forward with my newly pressed album. My mother and I, we toured together and were partners in this musical adventure. So we decided we were going to leave Nashville and become touring musicians. We put everything in storage for 4 years and went out to see what our expectation might be out on the road. And I've traveled mostly in the Southeast and the Midwest, but all the way as far west as Medora, North Dakota, and South Texas, and as far east as Ireland. I now reside in the foothills of Signal Mountain in Chattanooga, Tennessee. And that brings us up to date, I think.
Okay. So if I can roll back the clock a little bit, what influenced you to want to get into being a performer, being a musician?
It's kind of a funny story because I grew up in Nashville, but I wasn't that much around the music. My parents were in food. That was kind of their industry. They had a staffing business. My dad was a songwriter and an artist himself, and they moved to Nashville for that reason. But in order to take care of the family, they opened a business, and it kind of worked hand in glove with music. But I don't think that they ever thought that I was going to get into it myself. But about age 14, I picked up a guitar after quitting the piano, and I found out that was my instrument, and I began writing music at that time. I didn't have a whole lot of guidance in what musical direction I should go in. I listened to what my parents listened to, which was a lot of 70s classic rock and so forth. And it was a strange crossover into the roots music. I was checking out CDs from the library, and my mom said, you should check out Bruce Springsteen. And after I had gone through many different albums in my dad's collection and from the library, I eventually stumbled across one called We Shall Overcome, the Seeger Sessions. And that was a completely different, new, fresh sound to me. It was an amalgamation of American styles, bluegrass, blues, gospel, all kinds of music together. And it broadened my horizons, and I started to be able to listen to other things that were not so commercialized and not what was on the radio at the time. So then my writing became a little bit more, I suppose, roots influenced.
You're quite the guitar player. There's a video on YouTube, one entitled Mama Doesn't Tell Me Lies.
Mama Don't Tell Me Lies.
Mama Don't Tell Me Lies. And you're a very strong rhythm player. I don't have the hand strength to go down a neck like that and bar chord like you do. But a great song. I'm surprised that's not released as a single as well.
Well, maybe it should have been. It's included on my album Designs on Me, which is kind of a smattering of, it's different styles. I kind of, when I composed the title, I kind of meant for all of the songs to reflect different aspects of me as an artist. So it's a 7-song, pretty much an EP, I guess.
Yes, ma'am.
But yeah, as far as guitar playing style, I use Pro Pick finger picks, which I think now that company is owned by Deering Banjo Company, and they sponsor me actually.
Great.
And I think that's why I have a more of a heavy-handed sound, like you're talking about.
Well, I don't say that in a negative way.
No.
I enjoyed it. I'm sorry. Go right ahead. I didn't mean to interrupt.
But that's how I kind of have that harder sound. I think, especially being a lady, you kind of expect a softer tone. And I used to play without picks, but while I was in college, I had a blues mentor, and he gave me my first set of Pro Picks, and they set me on the right path. So I've used them ever since.
Is guitar your only instrument that you play?
It is, yes.
Okay.
I had tried a few other instruments when I was younger, but guitar seemed to be the one that I was meant to use.
So the song Here Comes the Snow, that's your current release. Are you in the process of an album or more singles to be released here in the near future?
This one won't be part of an album, but yes, to answer your question, I am about to record a new album. And as we were speaking throughout the day, I was looking for a recording engineer in this area. I've been here for a year and a half and still trying to get my bearings in Chattanooga. And I think we may have located a studio. The album will be called Hard Travelin' Girl, and it is going to be 12 songs. They're all inspired from my time living on the road over the past 4 years.
Will they all be in this particular style, or a variety of styles that you'll be releasing?
I can guarantee that it will be an Americana album. I think that there will be a fair amount of bluegrass influence to it, a little bit of folk, and maybe a little more country to most of the songs, but all within that Americana vein.
Well, I mean, I will say this, I don't say it in a negative way. This definitely isn't bluegrass, but it does fall in that category, if you don't mind my saying, of songs like Wilmer Lee and Stoney Cooper had released back in the day. Hank Snow had released, because I was listening during Ron Ackerman's broadcast. He had aired your song, and then following that was a couple other songs. I thought, well, that kind of falls right into that category of when those artists were releasing that style of music. And then there was a song that Claire Lynch had released, and it kind of had that Western swing to it. And I thought, my gosh, it almost sounds like a song that Nina could actually cover.
I love that.
We'll have to find out what that was.
Very cool.
So you hit me by surprise in the chat room a couple weeks ago, and I thought, you know what, let's give it a spin. Let's see what we have. And I enjoy it, and it's cool to know that Ron Ackerman, Terry Brewer, myself, and I believe there's another one giving your song airplay. I'm hoping it'll reach out to all the DJs where they can include it. I'm certainly enjoying it. In regards to this song or any of your previous releases before we've ever heard of you, is there a way that the listeners could acquire this song as well as any of the others as a digital download?
Yes, sir. I think the best place to find it would probably be on Bandcamp. I think I have pretty much my whole repertory there. And probably including, I have an album of folk songs called Fare Thee Well, a Joan Baez tribute, and you might find some bluegrass songs within that album as well.
Anything on Spotify, Pandora?
Yes, on Spotify, Pandora, Tidal, Shazam. There's so many different platforms out there, but I believe you can find it on Apple iTunes, and you can even find it on YouTube if you want to search there. I have a newly released homemade video. We had a really good snow last year, and I was able to get some footage for the song. We had one snow this year, too. I haven't had any more. Kind of fortunate in that regard, I think.
Well, I wish I could say the same. We had snow last month. We had snow this week. And we just got news that there's more snow on the way. So I am surrounded by parts of Maryland as well as Virginia. So I work down in the northern Virginia area. So anything close to the D.C. or the metropolitan area, we get hammered. We get hammered with the snow.
I know that. One of my biggest fans lives in Maryland, and he's very near that D.C. area. Okay. So he's been keeping me abreast of the snow.
Right.
My mother and I toured for the last 4 years, and most of that time we tried to escape the winters. So when we'd pass through Nashville, we only had a storage unit, and we'd go and get our summer clothes when we needed them or winter clothes. And most of the time in the winter, we'd go south to Florida. In one winter, we went south Texas, but when we moved here to Chattanooga, we decided we were going to tough it and stay here for the snow. And the first one we had was very exciting to me. So that's where the song came from. As soon as I heard it was coming, I sat down and started writing.
Well, as the snow was falling earlier this week, I was immediately thinking about this song in particular.
It's got a very relatable
Yes, it does.
Title to it.
In a good way or a bad way, you know what I mean? So now, how far is Chattanooga from Nashville?
It is about 120 miles south, I think.
Okay.
It's not too far, really. It's about an hour and a half, maybe.
Let's talk about Here Comes the Snow. I'm sure there's a storyline behind this. And if you would care to share with the listeners about it. This is a 3-hour broadcast. I have 2 hours and 15 minutes, so the floor is yours.
All right. Well, as mentioned, we had a snow last year, and I think throughout the past 4 years, some of the time was spent in Gatlinburg performing with the Smoky Mountain Tunes and Tales and at Dollywood. So a lot of the repertoire that I was doing was mountain music, and I like the Carter family a whole lot.
Oh, yeah.
So I started covering some of their songs and started to get a real feel for this sort of Appalachian sound and storytelling. So I think by the time I got to Chattanooga and it coincided with the snow coming and my excitement for that, I immediately sat down and started writing this song, and I got about halfway through it, and I was kind of thinking, I don't really know where it's going. So sometimes when I'm writing songs, I'll just talk to the Lord and ask him what I should do, what direction I should go with a song. And I left a little time in between writing sessions and just prayed about it. And when I came back, I had the final verse, and it became a wraparound song, so that there's content at the front that leaves you hanging, and it's not till the end, and when you get the verse, the final words of the last verse, that it gives you everything you needed from the beginning, and it's all concluded with the chorus. I think it's quite a simplistic song that it's got something that I feel like is pretty compelling. I meant to record this song last year, but I guess it wasn't time for it to be done. This year when I started recording, I had met a couple of bluegrass musicians from the area, and I asked John Benjamin Davis to play the fiddle and Patrick Dugan to play the mandolin and Trevor Dennison to play on the upright bass. And for this track, I decided I would produce and record it all in my own little home studio, nestled here in the side of the mountain. Mm-hmm. So it went pretty well, I think.
Mm-hmm. Now, there's a liner note or something that you have written to where it was in regards to someone that was going to propose?
Yes,
okay.
That's the storyline of the song. A girl standing in her window, and she knows that her beau is coming to propose to her in the morning, and she prays that if he's the one, that it'll snow in the morning, and she's waiting up all night and can't sleep for excitement. And in the morning, it snows just as he's coming. So that was the sign she was asking for, and it came. So he was the right one.
All right.
Mm-hmm.
Well, going to the good Lord for your decisions, I think I'm more than positive you had great guidance with your decisions on everything.
Yes, sir. It has been the case. One of the songs on the new album, I'll just say this, I haven't mentioned it to anybody before, is called Living Out of the Hand of God. And that's what we've done for the past 4 years on the road. It's a unique experience to totally rely on him for your needs.
When you're on the road, does your mom play as well?
She does not. She does everything else. She's the driver. I'm the co-pilot, and she helps with all of the other things. We do everything together, and I do the booking and that kind of thing, but she's the chief cook and bottle washer, and she has talents of her own. She's a photographer, so she does the photos for the albums and singles and any promo materials we put out.
By the way, the vibrato is awesome.
Well, thank you very much.
Yes, ma'am. That style, again, takes me back to Wilma Lee, Stoney Cooper, Hank Snow, and artists during their time.
That's awesome.
Yes, ma'am.
I love it. It's a unique style to add
Sure.
vibrato. I think with jazz and some early country, it might not have been used so much, but definitely within the 60s and 70s, I think it started to creep in there and add a new texture.
Is the EP also available as a hard disc?
It is,
Hard
yes.
copy?
If you visit my website, ninariccimusic.com, that's NINARICCI music.com, it is available for purchase, and I am happy to sign CDs as well.
All right. Awesome. Any venues that maybe the listeners that are tuning in worldwide, not to make you nervous or anything, you're going to be performing in an area that's close to them?
As far as tour dates, I am keeping it close to home right now. We are off the road, actually, and when the album comes out, that I'm sure will change. But right now I have March 28th. That will be in Red Bank, and it's called S'mores and Songs. That will be 6 p.m. March 28th. And then I have a festival in June, Moo Fest in Athens, Georgia. So that one will be a fun one, so I hear. And it's mostly bluegrass down at Moo Fest.
When you're performing live, is a band with you or are you just a solo performance?
Normally, I am a solo act. We're going to start to try to assemble a band here, but I am primarily a solo act. One of my early mentors through just listening to CDs and such was Joan Baez and a lot of the folk singers from the folk revival. Being an only child as well kind of fed into that. I started out with that solo position just as they did, and I haven't changed that very much. Every once in a while I'll cross over and have some people backing me, but I am planning to put together an ensemble pretty soon.
Okay. I was curious who helps you out on harmonies, especially on this particular song.
Well, on this recording, it's just me. Right. I'm singing my own harmonies, but I am planning to have somebody to back me up when I'm doing stage shows.
Sounds great.
I haven't found the right person for that yet, but We'll see.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm in a new city, and there are a lot of people performing around here as well.
Well, I appreciate Valentine's Day. I mean, I just keep driving that home. Valentine's Day of all days. I certainly do appreciate you spending some time with me here on the Bluegrass Jamboree and to talk about your latest single. And we hope you'll stay in touch with us to keep us updated on your forthcoming CD, or even if you have another single coming out prior to the completion of that album, be sure to hit us up so we can make sure we're giving the folks a sneak preview of what to expect. And you're saying this song will not be on the forthcoming CD or will be?
It won't. It will be just a single, but it is a wonderful Valentine song, and
yes,
I will be singing it in some of my shows as well. Sometimes in the summer, if I decide to do it, I just say it's going to be an ice cube in the middle of the set. So come July, I'll probably pick it back up again, and it'll be part of Christmas in July, I guess. Yes, I'll be happy to come back on the time that the album is released. We don't have a release date for it, but people can keep in touch and sign up for my newsletter. That's a good way to keep in touch. But I'm on Facebook and Instagram, and I think my best platform for music is YouTube. I have a beginning to thrive YouTube channel called Nina Ricci Music. And it's best to always write music with my name because there is a fashion and perfume line.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, there
with
is.
the same name.
Yes, there is.
They have music of their own too, but it does not sound twangy at all.
Gotcha. Got twangy. Now, on your Facebook page, there's one, in case someone would like to follow you, you have one that says there's not a lot of activity. What's the best one to go to on Facebook?
The best one is the Nina Ricci Music page. That's the one that is most active, and I post show dates on there and anything that's happening.
All right. Well, let's go on ahead and air the latest single, the only single right now until the new album. Here's one entitled Here Comes the Snow, an original song by Nina Ricci. And I certainly do, once again, appreciate your time here to come in and talk about this single and some information in regards to yourself here on the Bluegrass Jamboree. And thank you so much. I wish you all the best, as well as the forthcoming album. And please keep us posted on any new releases. It's our pleasure to put your music here on the BluegrassJamboree.com.
Thank you very much, Brett.
Yes, ma'am.
And God bless.
Yes, ma'am. And happy Valentine's Day to you.
Thank you very much.
Yes,
Happy
ma'am.
Valentine's Day to you and your wife.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you very much. I'll pass that on. All right. Here's Nina Ricci with Here Comes the Snow, and it's heard right here on the BluegrassJamboree.com.